Good evening, folks. Welcome to Mindful Music Maker. Good to see everyone out there already in the chat. Looks like we've got a lot of regulars with us tonight. I like it. Mr. Elliot Brenner, hey there, buddy. Loco Joe, Karen, Leslie and Matt. Lewis, Nestor. Uh-oh. Joe says we have echo. Have no idea why that would be the case. Give me some kind of recognition in the chat if it's still there. I will manipulate the only thing I could think. Cool. Karen says no echo. Sweet. Maybe it was just momentary. Great. I see 2 no echo confirmations. Awesome, gang. Well, I'm going to play a little tune for you. And then we'll meditate. Yeah, man. If anyone was forced into doing middle school square dancing like I was, you should recognize that tune. That's the old Turkey in the Straw. Haw, haw, haw. I love it, Karen. Karen's actually giving the title of the tune that everyone's going to know out there. Do your ears hang low? Do they wobble to and fro? Can you time in a knot? Can you time in a bow? That's actually, I'm not going to call it Turkey in the Straw from this point forward. It's going to be Do Your Ears Hang Low. Oh, Loco Joe says, is it Thanksgiving already? Dang, buddy. I mean, my folks and I were texting about the menu last week, so it's definitely upon us. That is for sure. Oh, man. And for anyone out there who follows the rest of the channel's happenings, Turkey in the Straw, that tune, I just recorded a version of it the other day. I'm going to make like kind of a double feature YouTube video with like a beginner's straight ahead kind of version of Turkey in the Straw and then a little kind of more intermediate variation. And that should be out hopefully sometime by the end of the month. I was hoping to get it out before Thanksgiving. Not sure if that's going to happen. But yeah, Turkey in the Straw. Good tune. Well, gang, I'm going to put the old L-double-O down here. And let's all kind of get loosened up and ready for some meditation. I think that's what we're all here for, right? No, Hayes, we're here to listen to you chat about turkey songs all week. Alrighty. Let me get the old timer pulled up here. I've been really inspired. I see Leslie's out there too. I just want to say, ever since she and Matt were on last time, this whole like making space thing has really been on my mind. I know that, we could beat that subject to death, but let's make some space for meditation in our lives right now. I think it could do us all a lot of good. Oh, getting stretched. Hopefully you guys are doing the same. Okay, gang, here we go. 5 minutes on the cushion or chair or standing or doing whatever you want to do. I'll be choosing my breath as the anchor for today, but if you're a musician out there and you've got your axe handy, you can strap that on and kind of use any of the tactile sensations of touching the instrument as well. Let's go ahead and go for 5 minutes here. We'll see you on the other side. Make sure you're up on your sits bones, no C-shaped backs or anything like that. Get a nice curve in your lower back. Put that string in the top of your head. Get it going toward the ceiling. Mind wanders, just come back to your anchor. No big deal. Awesome. When you come back to reality, feel free to stretch out a little bit, wake your body back up. Alrighty, gang. Well, you all know the drill. I'm going to give myself a 7 for that meditation. How does everyone else feel on a scale from 1 to 10? You feel like you got what you needed out of that one? Nice. Elliot's out of 5. Nice. You guys can't just copy me, okay, with all your 7s out there. That's great. I like what Karen says. Can you picture a soothing scene during it? If you can, then a 7. Man, I think you can picture whatever you want during meditation, you know, as long as the focus remains on the breath and you're, you know, calming your mind. Absolutely, Karen. That's great. Nestor's got a 7. Lewis is a 7. Becky's an 8. No surprises there. Marion at a 7. Matt 5. Leslie 7. Wow, Joe's feeling it tonight. 8, maybe even 9. Let's give you a 9 anyways, man. Francois says a 6. I was focused on the word mandolin on your hat. That's cool, man. I like that. Yeah, that's any focal point works, you know. Oh, cool. Leslie says she was doing box breathing tonight. That's awesome. That's something that I've honestly like never really messed with much. But I think you know what? Nestor might have mentioned this when I came into your class that one day. Nestor, were you talking about box breathing with the class? I feel like that might be one of the techniques that the Koru people were talking about. But that's really cool. That's something that I'm hoping to have the capabilities set up to do here before too long, is to bring some people into these calls and not just communicate through the chat. I think Nestor would be a great candidate. I think Leslie and Matt would be great candidates. So we should all definitely talk. And before I forget about it, I had mentioned this last week, but I'm kind of excited because I have my first few interviews lined up for what's going to be the Mindful Music Maker podcast. So I know that you folks, most of you who are out there, have been showing up kind of for most of these sessions. You know, we've picked up a few along the way, but the most of you that are out there right now have been with me since the beginning. And I've been talking with more folks, and it seems like there is some kind of I don't want to call it market, but there is some critical mass of people who might be interested in a podcast that talks about these topics. And I mentioned last week, and maybe even a few times before, that this experience here in the middle of these live streams is more like learn with me, not from me kind of thing. I know I'm the only one talking, but I don't claim to be an expert in this stuff. And that's kind of what my idea was for the podcast. The whole journey of the podcast would be a learn with Hayes kind of thing. So I've got some great interviews lined up. I don't want to spoil any of the surprises yet, but some really awesome teachers and leaders in the mindfulness community who I think are going to be able to shed some really good light on the practice of mindfulness and how it might relate to music out there. Even if you're not a music maker, but you join us for the live stream, I think, you know, there's a lot of crossover for how these mindfulness practices and techniques can be really applied to just your daily life. I think I've mentioned this before, but the thought of doing mindfulness related to music is really just like my kind of nefarious way of getting more people to practice mindfulness, because I think it just makes us better people, more well-balanced, all that kind of stuff. Oh, nice. That's right. Yeah, Nestor. He said we didn't do box breathing. We did chicken breathing. I knew it was one of the named breathing techniques. That's cool. Um, but yeah, I think box breathing is pretty neat. I've had some meditation coaches for a while. This was actually going to be today's topic of discussion, so that might not be a bad way to kind of get into this. Um, I was thinking about in one of my lessons earlier today. I was talking with Johnny. He might actually be out there, Johnny Brandstetter, and we had a lesson today specifically dedicated to looking at how to transcribe music. So he was observing me as I was listening to music and then writing it down on the paper, which is the act of transcription is one of the greatest, most challenging mindfulness practices on the planet, I think. But he, at the end of the lesson, he was like, "Oh man, thank you so much for doing that. I can't wait to dive in, and go do this myself." And I was thinking, there were some questions that popped up in the middle of that session that we had where I was like, there's no way that I could have imparted this information on Johnny or helped him with this unless someone had taught me before. There was no way that I could have seen in my own musical training that I could have just independently generated the skill set to do the thing that we were doing and then be able to share it with another human being. And that got me thinking about this kind of lineage aspect to my meditation coach, who I check in with every now and again, Lama Adam Berner. He talks about the importance of a teacher that has been trained in a lineage, and it doesn't have to be he's obviously a Buddhist, right? But I don't think his point is that you need to find a teacher who is trained in some Buddhist lineage. I think you can find someone who comes from a musical lineage or any kind of lineage that you think of. Someone essentially who is the product of a long line of people that have been striving to do the thing we're trying to do. I think that's the point of this lineage aspect. And I think that the importance of finding a teacher for any new skill set that you're trying to accrue can't be, overstated, in my opinion. There's no way that I would have been able to kind of even grasp onto some of these mindfulness techniques if I didn't have Adam. And before that, even the Calm app. Has anyone ever heard of the Calm app? That was kind of what got me into meditation in general. And Jeff Warren is one of the personalities that they have on there, who's a really great mindfulness meditation practitioner himself. But I would almost consider him my first teacher because he got into kind of exposing people in his meditations on that app to a variety of different visualization and anchor techniques for meditation. And just like Karen even reminded me of this earlier when she said that she was visualizing a soothing scene. Jeff would often talk about that during meditations. That would be the purpose of one meditation, is to picture yourself somewhere utterly serene and be there, for that meditation. By the way, Karen says she was on a boat in the sunny Caribbean. I like that. Especially since it was 35 degrees in Columbus today. This fall weather finally caught up on us. Just trying to read some of the comments here as they're coming in. Loco Joe, I've been trying this stream of consciousness thing when meditating lately. I count my breaths while I play my instrument as a kind of background task. Yeah. It's not easy to keep playing all the way through, but it gets me more familiar with the feeling of flow that I'm looking for, even if it mostly sounds garbage. I think that's perfect, man, because the sound isn't the point at that point. The point is to kind of, like you said, get in that flow with your instrument in your hands. I think that's beautiful, man. Yeah, don't worry about the sound. Lewis says, when something is brought up I don't know, I just ask Becky. I think that's a solid way to go, buddy. Becky seems like pretty heavy hitter in terms of knowledge around this area of mindfulness and things like that. but I guess to kind of put a button on my little spiel about finding a teacher, I actively seek instruction in this area right now, and I think you should too. If you're interested in this, and that doesn't mean there needs to be kind of any monetary exchange or anything like that. There are plenty of free resources out there, and I hope to have a compilation of those resources on the Mindful Music Maker website, which is currently under construction. But one thing that I would definitely suggest is finding something to regularly check in with that knows more than you about this topic. I think it's great that all of you show up to these Monday sessions, because that means you're hungry for it, I think. And I'm happy to be your kind of like, the Buddhists would call it umze, like your meditation leader or whatever for the week. But I think it's really cool to be able to kind of have a conversation with someone whose life is dedicated to the art of meditation. And there are actually two people that I will put out right now in the chat. One of them is Lama Adam Berner, and let me get his website pulled up. Yeah, Lama Adam. So this is one teacher that I couldn't recommend enough. And then the other one is David Neesmith. He's an Alexander technique instructor. And he was actually the first person that I came into contact with who really, he didn't talk about mindfulness at all, but what we were doing was clearly a mindfulness practice, because it involved a lot of exploration of bodily sensation, kind of like meditating on different anchors in the body, another way of kind of saying that. Here, sorry, it took me a minute to find David's website. But David has a really unique approach, and it's Alexander technique is specifically guided toward performing artists. It started with an actor who was having trouble kind of like clamming up and stuttering and all of these weird things that would happen when he would go on stage. It wasn't so much stage fright, but the act of being on stage induced all of these different kind of bodily mechanisms that he eventually explored through mindfulness practices and was able to kind of release. And David has a really interesting way of going through that stuff. The cool thing about David and Lama Adam is that there are non-monetary ways of interacting with both of those guys. First off, Adam, because of his dedication to the Buddhist path, he doesn't actually charge for sessions on mindfulness and meditation. I always pay him because, like, I think if you can, to support someone's life work, that's a great idea. But he doesn't actually charge a dime. And he's very happy to do that, because I think as a Buddhist, his thing is he would rather share the Dharma or the teachings of these things with other people than just like purely take money, because that's not what the lamas are all about. You know what I mean? And then David, actually, he used to have some podcast episodes. So if you go to that link below, Poised for Life, that has some kind of links in there that you can check out to find all of those different options that he has available. So finding a teacher, it's a pretty simple topic, and I didn't want to harp on it for too long, but I just want to say that if you've been showing up, if you showed up at least 3 or 4 times to this, I think it could definitely be good for you, if you haven't already, to kind of explore checking in with an expert on this topic. And I think it counts, if you want to like read a book by a famous teacher and that kind of stuff, but I still feel like personal conversational interaction with someone who's actively practiced this in this realm of ideologies for a while is a good thing. So that's my little spiel on finding a teacher. Find a teacher, folks. Another thing that I wanted to do today was just kind of open the floor up for questions. I'm gonna play another tune for you guys, but if you guys have any questions in general, like we're talking mindfulness, we're talking music, we're talking, what are the names of my cats, any of that kind of stuff, go ahead and toss them out there in the chat box. I feel like I would like to do more of that stuff, Q&A style here going forward. So that's enough of me yakking. Feel free to ask some questions. I'm gonna play. If you've got any requests, you can also put that in the chat box too. Here's a good tune. I'll try this one out. Oh, man. Oh, nice. Leslie and Matt said we're getting ready to go to yoga class, so hopping off. Have fun at yoga, guys. That's a great mindfulness practice as well. Johnny says, I still want to hear Hand Me Down My Walking Cane, dude. Yeah, that's I got to work that one up for you, buddy. I'm going to do it, though. I promise. That's I'm actually, you know what? I would share my screen if I could right now, but I'm going to go to Hayes. I have a practice log. We've talked about this. Hayes practice log. 11 15 22 guitar practice, because I segment my practice. Hand me down my walking cane. Hand me down my walking cane. Oh yeah. I'm gonna do it, Johnny. Oh, and Lewis says the results of the hack question on Instagram. So this is kind of funny. For some reason, I've been getting all these comments lately. I mean, not for some reason. I put my stuff out on the internet. Everyone can see it. So naturally, you're going to get some flack every now and again, right? But when in all my lesson videos, I usually wear like one of the open road hats behind me. I've got like a Gorin Brothers and then an actual Stetson. And then in the span of like 2 days, there were two different people on YouTube and Instagram that told me that my hat sucked and I look like an idiot and all that kind of stuff, which I don't really care about. Like, I love the hat. But I did put a poll out there to see whether I should burn my hat or not, and the results were a resounding no, I should not burn my hat. I think it was 95% to 5%, and there were like 20-some votes. So, whatever. Yeah, I thought that was funny. Karen says, are there any good music books on that shelf behind you? Only good music books back there, Karen. No, oh, I wish I had brought those downstairs. But check this out. Let me see if I can find this one real quick. Should be able to. Yep, there it is. So this is one of my most prized possessions ever. I got this book from a guy that I was chatting with on the internet. It's the Tiny Moore Mandolin Method. And this is an amazing book. So what? This was put out in 1982. And this guy that sent me this stuff looks like pre-production publishing copies like that Tiny was selling before he got the book deal. So I've got 5 more copies of this upstairs that have like plain white covers on them. There's no forward page, but they're bound in the same way. So it's almost like they were pre-production copies from the publisher or something. But that's definitely one of my favorite books of all time to kind of put out right there. Let me see if I can do this without... You know what? I'm just going to set you on top there, Tiny. Another book that I've got that just caught my eye. I'll share this one and then show and tell time is over. But if you don't have this book, this is also an amazing bit of history and just collection of tunes. This is called John Hartford's Mammoth Collection of Fiddle Tunes. And it was actually it was put out and compiled by a group of folks a while back. Matt Combs, who was notably one of the fiddlers in John Hartford's band and an amazing Nashville fiddle player, I think really kind of helped lead the charge on this. But on the inside, you get all these, it's like John Hartford's actual handwriting on the fiddle tunes, which I think is really super cool. So it's just like really nice photocopies of all of these kind of unreleased tunes that Hartford never put out, and they were for like friends and stuff like that, you know. So he would write a tune for one of his pals and then just kind of file it away. But I love reading through there and kind of playing some music that that you've never heard before, because he didn't record any of these, or a lot of them, rather. Got some good questions coming, or comments coming in here. What do they know about great hats? They don't know anything, Karen. That's kind of what I'm thinking. The open road, come on, that's a classic look, people. I know I'm just like a bald Midwestern bro who wears like, you know, ratty sweatshirts all the time and stuff like that. But the open road, it adds class, right? It makes me classy. Now we got a question here from Nestor. When you played Turkey in the Straw in your second piece tonight, where was your mind? On your fingers, left, right hand, both? On your auditory experience, something else? So that's a great question, Nestor. And I'm always hyper aware of these things when I play for you folks, because I'm like, oh my God, it's the Mindful Music Maker stream. If I'm not totally mindful and in the moment right now, that I'm like a sham, you know, I'm like screwing with these people. But part of tonight's, so for Turkey in the Straw especially, I was able to kind of let go of that one a little more. And by let go, I mean kind of like dig into mindfulness a little bit and not think so much about the specific notes that I was playing or anything like that, but just rest and be with the auditory experience that for me is playing music sometimes. To me, the kind of, maybe I need to back up a bit. To me, the kind of ultimate musical experience, at least for right now, what I'm striving for, is to pick up the instrument and to voice at the drop of a hat, in a moment's notice, anything that I hear inside of my mind's eye, or mind's ear, rather. So, if I pick up Turkey in the Straw, I don't want to play it exactly, maybe I do, but necessarily I don't want to play it exactly like it was written out on the tab. Often what I kind of think of is this skeleton melody, and a lot of you have heard me talk about this kind of stuff before. So if the melody to Turkey in the Straw is, the skeleton melody would be something like, and you can kind of hear that that's like, it sounds kind of like Turkey in the Straw, right? Just minus some stuff. So for me, that skeleton melody is like the anchor when I sit down to play over a fiddle tune. To me, that's the breath. That's the regular thing that's always in the background, never changes, and you can cling to it and attach your mind to it to stay entirely in the tune. And then what I allow myself in those moments of playing these fiddle tunes is to see if I can voice instantaneous variations and additions to that skeleton melody. So, this spectrum of always there, so that's just like me kind of trying to be completely in the moment, off guard. I'm letting you catch me off guard a little bit here tonight, Nestor. So yeah, the skeleton melody is kind of my anchor, so to speak. And that changes, so it depends on the musical scenario. If I'm performing and wanting to give people a pleasant auditory experience, usually I cling to that, or maybe even tools that I know better than the skeleton melody, like arpeggios, or sticking straight to the melody and using that as a mindfulness kind of anchor. But yeah, those are the things that I think about when I'm playing. I'm trying to incorporate this act of mindfulness more into every playing scenario that I'm in. And that's kind of where I'm at with it these days. That's not always the case. Sometimes, we all have probably experienced this, like, if I'm in the middle of something and I kind of go off the beaten path and I lose it, then I steer straight onto something that I know but maybe doesn't necessarily always sound the greatest. It's like you go back to a lick that you know really well. Or like an arpeggio or scale pen. Just play every Tony Rice lick that you got in the world. So if you hear those things come out in my solos, more often than not, it's because I'm screwing up and my mind has wandered. But if you hear constant melodic variation and generation of those kind of things, I'm probably sort of in the zone. There's my secrets, folks. I'm giving them to you. Oh, nice. Lewis requested Liberty, and Karen had the High Road from the High Road. played the High Road in forever. If that's the same High Road you're thinking of there, Karen, the Tim O'Brien tune that Brian Sutton recorded, that's a great one. I could probably crank out Liberty here in a little bit too. Hey there, Marion. Good to see you for a little while. Glad you could join us. Joe says there's no shame in using time wasters in your improv. Everybody does it. That's what improv is for maybe even some people, right? Like whenever the old guys in my jam circle from back home are like, all he does is play licks, you know? Like that's what we can call them, time wasters, right? That's perfect. Yeah, sweet. Well, I don't see many other questions coming in there, so I might just play you folks another tune and see if anybody comes in with another thought-provoking little bit there. Let me see if I can crank out some Liberty for Lewis there. I like that one. Yeah. That was the ending I wanted to play for the B part the entire time and never did, Lewis. A little bit of Liberty for you. I gotta say that there was this show we played out in, was it Mountain Home, Arkansas? Mountain View, Arkansas? Something like that. Where there was like a stage show. This was back in my April Virch days, and there was a band. We did a couple shows that day, and between every kind of act changeover, the house band used to play Liberty. And I think I heard Liberty like 48 times in 2 hours that one day. I was just like, I am never, ever forgetting that tune ever again. Thank you, guys. And then I forgot it right here, right now. Oh, nice. Elliot says, anyone ordered Bush's Radio John CD? No, I have not. I have to check that one out. Sweet. Oh, and roger that, Loco Joe. Looks like we've got me and Loco Joe are going to have a hang. I'm going to nerd out on some music stuff. I heard Loco Joe is a pretty dang good transcriptionist. I would love to talk about transcription stuff with Loco Joe in addition to coding stuff. That could be fun. Well, gang, I'm not seeing much coming in the chat, and to be quite honest, I am. So last week I was from Thursday through yesterday. My wife and I went to visit her sister, in Montreal, or Montreal, as the Canadians like to say. And I am wiped from that, to be quite honest. We flew out of Detroit, so that means a 3-hour trip there, a 3-hour plane ride, or 2 hours really, and then same thing on the way back. I quit the road for a reason. Hanging out with you folks on YouTube is much more fun and easier on my body. One last thing I want to do before I get out of here too. I know I didn't play it today, but I'm going to put a link out here in the chat just in case anyone hasn't seen this. I released a video last Friday of my new electric mandolin, and I did this really cool John Arcand tune. The Canadian thing reminded me of this, actually, because John Arcand is Canadian. And it's called Gray Owl, but it features my new Bell Muse electric mandolin back there. And I'm really excited to announce that I am an endorsed artist with Bell Muse mandolins right now. That's going to be a fun partnership. And I'm really humbled that they would reach out and ask me to represent their products, because their mandolins are, if you're looking for an electric mandolin, it doesn't get any better than what they're cranking out. So definitely check those out. And I was not paid to say that. But yeah, check out Gray Owl too, just to kind of get a vibe for what that mandolin sounds like. Hey, thanks for the congrats, Nestor. Yeah, I'm pretty excited about it, man. That's the first deal that I've ever had like that on anything, and it was, like I said, truly humbling. So really appreciate Chris over at Bell Muse Mandolins, and he doesn't work for him anymore, but Pete Mallinson of All Muse Mandolins. All Muse and Belvoir guitars kind of combined to make Bell Muse Mandolins. And Pete Mallinson was like a legend he's still around. He is a legend in the electric mandolin world for kind of figuring out how to convert like all this guitar technology, like how to make tunematic bridges for electric mandolins, because you need teeny ones and stuff like that. So it's cool to be kind of part of that lineage, to get back to that kind of word tonight. So, yeah. Elliot says, I only saw prices in British pounds. What are they in bucks? Yeah, so they take all their payments in pounds. But when I calculated it out the other day, my mandolin, which is like their standard off-the-rack Wildwood 4, it's a neck-through design and everything, that mandolin runs about $800 US, which in my opinion is a steal. The only mandolin that you can get roughly in that price range, I think Eastwood mandolins you can get for around that, which are good mandolins too. And then Gold Tone makes one for like $500-ish. But honestly, double your money and get something like that. No hate on Gold Tone or anything, but this is just it's a hand-built instrument, hand-wound pickups, all custom. Really nice investment and a solid instrument. So can't recommend Bell Muse enough. Awesome, gang. Well, that's enough talk about all that stuff. But check out that video to Gray Owl if you haven't, just to get an idea for that. And I guess we'll see you next Monday. Hopefully I'll have some more rolling updates for you folks. Over the next month, I'm going to be launching mindfulmusicmaker.com, and I'll have a separate email list and everything for that. So when that happens, I'll tell you folks, and you can head over there and sign up for all sort of updates. And then I'm hoping by January 1st to have the first 3 episodes of this podcast launched. So cross your fingers, send some positive energy and vibes my way so that I can actually clear that much time in my schedule to make it happen. Yeah, so great to see you folks. Lewis, Elliot, Nestor, Marion, Loco Joe, Karen, who else we got? Johnny, my man Johnny. Leslie and Matt, they already signed off. And Francois, man, Francois, so good to see you. Thank you so much for joining in again. Really great to see all of you folks. As always, I super appreciate this community, and you don't know how much it means to have some folks to kind of talk about this stuff with. So thanks so much to y'all. Go find a teacher if you want to dive more into meditation, okay? Can't recommend it enough. We'll see you next week, my friends. Take it easy.